Good day again. Lover of liberty and lover of truth and lover of the ability to exercise this thing, let me grab it, called the Constitution, and to ask questions as Candace Owens is asking. And the biggest mistake they ever made was not shutting her down. And how did they shut her down? How should they have shut her down? If that was their intention, if Erika Kirk or TPUSA was ignore her. You ignore her. Why are you? She's bearding the lion in her den. This is the oldest expression. Why are you giving credence? Why are you validating the words of the people that you are theoretically against? Meaning, why is or are Erika and TPUSA even acknowledging her, going on all these shows and bringing her up? And the Barry Weiss CBS, that was the denouement, so to speak. That was the, oh my God, that was the valedictory. That was it. Stick a fork in that. I want you to understand this critically. Candace Owens, and first, you don't have to like Candace Owens. This isn't about liking anybody. It's about liking the issues, liking the facts, liking what this represents. I have watched her for years. I think she's very talented. I don't agree with a lot of what she's but some of what she said, the Brigitte Macron thing and others that she said, but she never asked me my opinion. I would have handled it differently. We all have different ways. But she's monumentally successful. So she must be doing something right. So understand something. Somebody says, well, I didn't know you liked Candace Owens. I'm going to say this again. It's not about liking Erika or liking Charlie or liking Alex Jones or whoever or Trump. It's about the truth. It's about, the people come and go, but the issues remain constant, immutable. And Candace Owens is being punished for the one thing our side believes in. This is our side. And who is our side? Who are we? Very simple. This thing that we value. She's asking questions, for real, honest to God questions. Inquiry. Brutal sometimes, but obvious. This is who we are. We're the conspiratorium. I've been called a conspiracy theorist because I ask questions, because I don't believe in the official narrative. I know what I'm talking about. Let me ask you a question. When has the government ever been right? When have they ever said, when they came out with some official statement and you said, you know what? They're right. Never. And it ain't going to happen. And by the way, truth does not help corporations, governments, politicians. The truth helps us. Now, the truth that we're talking about, the kind that make powerful people sweat, the kind that doesn't stop at the first press release on the first tearful interview. Now, I am not going to mock or in any way speak negatively as to Erika Kirk's appearance. Sorry, not interested in that. Okay? Had they asked me what I would have done, you would have never seen this. And by the by, when you have a media blitz and you start saying something over and over again on this show and that show and this cable show, after a while it tends to be routinized, rehearsed, or appear such. It may not be, but the audience, by virtue of seeing this, says, didn't I hear that before? That's why you don't do it. One interview, tops. Anyway, that's another story. Maybe we'll get to that one. But this is not about Erika Kirk. I'm not even talking about her. I'm sorry. This was her husband, the father of her children. I'm leaving it at that. I'm talking about the investigation, okay? Make sure and by the way, not that I can tell you what to do, but I would stick with that. Trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. Stick with the facts. Don't go for the personalities, okay? Now, the truth, what apparently is getting people a little bit nervous, this is exactly why Erika Kirk and Turning Point USA, by the way, Erika Kirk as the CEO, have turned their guns on Candace Owens instead of simply answering what she's asking. You talk about shooting the messenger from the start. From the start. And this is important. Go back and look through this. Let's kind of go through a sort of what am I trying to say? Let's go through a review of this from the beginning. From the start, from the get-go, from Jump City, Candace did something that almost no one else in conservative media did. She treated Charlie Kirk's assassination as a serious issue, as a political issue, as an incident of consequence. She didn't cave in like all these other wussies, these spineless, feckless, imprisoned little babies who said, oh, I can't go away from this. No, I can't. And I've been through this all the time. From Vietnam to 9/11, there's some people who say, whatever the official narrative is, that's it for me. Count me in. Wait a minute. Who writes the official narrative? Okay? This is important. This is critical. This is critical. This is incredible. Candace has looked at this assassination as being serious, not some content opportunity. And she followed the oldest rule in criminal investigation. And this former prosecutor will tell you, follow the money, follow the reasons, follow the motivations, follow the parties. Follow the timeline, follow the lies. She went back to the weekend in the Hamptons, which apparently nobody's talking about. I kept hearing about this weekend in the Hamptons. Don't bring that up. Really? Yeah, don't. There's something to it. You only take heat and you only take flack when you're over the target. For some reason, we went berserk with that. Well, that's the first place I'd start. The pressure campaigns, the donors, that's where she went. To the shift in Charlie's tone on myriad political and foreign policy issues. She dug up internal memos that showed Charlie himself wanted some type of a Doge, I'm doing the air quotes, sorry about that, the Doge-style efficiency department to look at Turning Point's finances. In other words, he was getting nervous about where the money was going or not going and where it was coming from. And that is just wow. Because remember what I'm telling you, and I've seen this a gazillion times. When people are involved in embezzlement, and I'm not saying that's the case, I'm just saying whenever there's any financial impropriety or shenanigans, people find themselves not spending enough time as they should on thinking this through. Where is this money going? For example, taking a forensic accountant ahead of time and say, plot out, again, I'm not saying this, but plot out where we should be sending this, knowing what you know and what some prosecutor or what the DOJ is going to do. You think they would say, okay, well, don't move it into this shell, make sure. But people don't do that. They do it, and there's this sense of impunity, the sense of, well, we're doing God's work. Who would dare go after me? Anyway. Now you would think of a widow and a board that claimed to honor his legacy would welcome with open arms the level of scrutiny. Instead, they treated Candace like some kind of a pariah, like you're the problem. And that was the fatal mistake. If Erika Kirk had ignored Candace, and I know. You're thinking, nobody ignores. That's precisely right. If she had ignored Candace, stayed off the interview circuit, and quietly cooperated with a truly independent audit, this whole thing might have remained some niche fight on X, some compartmentalized little kerfuffle on certain platforms. But instead, she did the opposite. She stepped forward as CEO and chairman, put herself on every major platform, subjecting herself to incredible scrutiny, and tried to swat away criticism with a mix of scripture, emotion, scolding. Ooh. And that move transformed Candace from noisy critic into the one person willing to stand up to the new regime at TPUSA. The second Erika made it personal. It became a showdown. And by the way, we're looking at iterations of Erika. the wife, the CEO, now who knows? And don't for a minute believe this business about, oh, this is going to destroy MAGA. MAGA has nothing to do with this. This is not MAGA. Don't bring MAGA into this. Don't bring Trump into this. Oh, no, 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 no. Instead of answering basic questions, Erika leaned hard into the moral framing. How dare you ask this? How dare you investigate? Think of my child. Think of my children. Think of my grief. Think about me. No one disputes that their loss is real or that mockery and cruelty online are sick, which is what I'm telling you. But grief doesn't cancel inquiry, especially when it's dealing with an organization of this stature and this immane size. A CEO who controls a 9-figure political machine doesn't get to hide behind, I'm a widow, leave me alone, when donors, staff, and the public want clarity about finances and security failures and shell corporations and who's this guy and where are these people living? Where look at these homes, and it's like, look, this is capitalism, it's free country, but wow. See, they don't know how to do it. See, they don't know how to be like, not that I'm making a correlation, but Carlo Gambino lived in this very modest house, modest. This is old school. Why? You've got plenty of time later on. Anyway. You've got to ask yourself this question. You're now opening up inquiry into finances, security failures, federal involvement, federal inquiry, and you cannot cash the checks as an executive and then claim total immunity as a spouse. Leave me alone. Whoever wrote that script, that was the biggest mistake probably of them all. TPUSA made the same error. Rather than say, here are the books, here is the footage, here is what we know, here is what we don't know, they circle the wagons. You know how normally they hire a law firm, some big white shoe firm comes in and, and looks at this and says, we went over it. No. They say, get out of here. We're doing the Lord's work. This is TPUSA. How dare you? Don't you know that Charlie's been killed? Okay, yeah, I heard about it. It was in all the papers. You see what they're doing wrong? Fundraising emails went out almost immediately in Charlie's name. Oh, my God. PR operations sprang up to massage this, again, the Hamptons weekend. What was the Hamptons weekend? Never heard about it until they made a big deal out of it. Influencers, by the way, on friendly payrolls were suddenly very loud about how wicked and unchristian and disloyal it was to ask these questions. You knew who was on the payroll. Did you ever think, by the way, I know people, make money and on platforms. Hey, but I'm on nobody's payroll. I got news for you. But could you ever believe how many people are on the take? Sellouts and shills? All of that heat landed on Candace, not on the feds, not on the donors, not on the people who actually were pressuring Charlie before he died, which is documented, not even on the assassins who was responsible for taking him out. No, it's all on Candace. See, this is the old hoist by your own petard. They tried to make an example out of Candace. And in doing so, they proved her point. She said there was a kind of a cult or culture of message control and financial panic. And they responded with message control and visible, outright frenetic panic. She said people who never truly backed Charlie in life were trying to claim his ghost. Oh, come on. They rushed to the cameras and proved it in real time. She said the story didn't add up. And instead of calmly supplying missing facts and data, they attacked the person who noticed the math was not mathing, so to speak. And now look at what's happening around TPUSA. You have leaks from the inside. Not about trivia, but about money. You have staff and insiders talking about contractors and double dipping and strange arrangements and cash burning faster than anyone could justify. You also have a lot of independent folks. Remember, the blogosphere, as we used to call it in the old days, is filled with a bunch of experts. people who would normally be called as experts. Remember, after the assassination, there were a number of people in prior military, snipers, who added a whole bunch of expertise, which I thought was most critical, most relevant. Nobody really talked about that. Let me tell you something. This is critical. You've got auditors and forensic accountants and reportedly combing over numbers, and I mean, they forgot what this thing was. It's almost like that pre-Doge, like in the days of USAID, AID. They just thought that, no, excuse me, you don't question us. Do you know who we are? God damn it, we're TPUSA. Now get out of here. There's people who say, would you ever audit the Vatican? Audit the Vatican? Get it? What? God? Because that's kind of what they were saying. TPUSA, it's not about Charlie. It's about God. It's about the Lord's work. Get out! Ooh. These are numbers they're looking at that nobody would have touched or looked at if the organization had simply answered the first basic questions with honesty. Did they hire any? Did they think about damage control? Had Erika quietly allowed the Doge department to finish its work and made the findings known and backed off, been with their family, not hit the audience or interview routine so fast? I mean, it could have been a different story. I mean, this could have been resolved in-house, and at least they would have had something that they could point to it. Instead, their attempt to crush Candace forced the entire situation into the open, which is why I'm telling you, you ignore. Any of you who are my psych major background, everybody knows the notion of kind of like classical conditioning and operant and Skinnerian in reverse, extinction, punishment, extinguishing a particular behavior by ignoring it, providing no reference whatsoever. This is pure operant, but just ignore Candace. Ignore her. Just let her talk all she wants. And if somebody would have said, Erika, what do you have to say about Candace? Well, she's been a great friend of Charlie, and we think the world of her. That's it. Don't even answer it. Don't even answer it. No, excuse me. Yes. What about what she's alleging? You know, we all grieve in our own ways. And the most important thing that we have to understand is not only grief must work with the pursuit of the truth. And that's it. And you don't pursue the truth, but you said you did. But just move on. But that's not what they did. To go on Barry Weiss? What are you? I mean, nothing against her, because there's a lot that she's doing interestingly about CBS, which I kind of find interesting. But anyway, you also have, this is the next point, excuse me, a credibility war in conservative media that TPUSA is losing badly. When Candace asks why the rooftop videographer was never contacted by federal agents, people nod, because that is exactly the kind of thing normal citizens find suspicious. Remember, as a lawyer, as a former prosecutor, you know the names of the people that we get to determine like who was found guilty of murder and embezzlement? Jurors. And who are jurors? People like you and me. So don't give me this, well, what are you asking people for? You're, in fact, what I've often called this is a kind of a grand jury in essence. Now, what she asks right now is why, this is critical, why key footage hasn't been released. People nod again with this Pavlovian obeisance. Yes, because everyone has seen too many lost tapes and malfunctioning cameras. Sound familiar? In our recent history, and when she points out that the same outlets who spent years telling us to distrust the FBI now chant, trust the investigation, trust the FBI. What? And what's Kash Patel doing? Don't even get me started. What the hell is that all about? Audiences feel this weird kind of whiplash, like, what's going on here? And on the other side, you have hosts and influencers who suddenly discovered their inner Dr. Fauci, telling viewers to sit down, trust the science, trust the process, stop being emotional. You have people who built careers mocking the mockingbird media and now repeating official talking points about the lone gunman and the case being closed. I mean, this is what? You've got figures who never once lifted a finger to defend the January 6th defendants, patriots, by the way, or the victims of COVID mandates, now lecturing Candace about responsibility and tone. I mean, the base sees it, we see it, the comments prove it. Look at your comments. Whatever one thinks of Candace, personally, the rank and file know who's at least acting like an investigator and acting not as a gatekeeper, okay? And that is why sides are being taken, and not the way TPUSA expected. No. See, they thought smearing Candace as some kind of diva, a narcissist, a grifter, would end the conversation. Instead, every new attack only highlights what they know. I mean, it highlights also the fact that they still have not answered the central issues, the gravamen, so to speak, which has been raised. So where's the full footage? Again! Are we going to have binders? Is Pam Bondi going to release a binder? What? How many times do we have to go through this before we say, hey, stop that? You're lying to us. I don't understand it. Why were certain people pressuring Charlie behind the scenes? Why the obsession with controlling his legacy and his posthumous image while he was alive? And why the rush to fold his name into a particular foreign or political cause before his body was cold? Why the hostility to any mention of a financial audit if everything was clean? Huh? You know what I say? That's what I say. Now, none of those questions require you to believe in any particular theory, any specific theory. They require only that you remember how power behaves when it has something to hide. And Candace has not claimed to know every answer. She has insisted on the right to ask. And that alone, my friends, that alone has been treated as the crime. And in the long run, that's why she's likely to emerge as the victor in the standoff. Not because she enjoys the process, not because the smears don't do damage, but because the audience she is speaking to, us, has lived through Iraq and TARP and Russiagate and BLM and COVID and the Epstein farce and JFK, MLK, go down the list. They know what it feels like when the same voices who once said question everything suddenly demand blind obeisance. This patellar obeisance, not going to happen. They know the sound of a narrative that cannot withstand cross-examination. My friends, my dear friends, I'm talking to you. Erika Kirk and TPUSA have chosen a very different path, a very dangerous path, a very stupid path. They could have released every frame of video they control, redacted only what was strictly necessary to protect bystanders. And they could have welcomed a full independent audit. And guess what? Nobody would have pursued it, but at least they could have said they did it. They could have published the top-line findings. They could have done a lot of stuff. They could have said, we understand why people are suspicious. We share those concerns. We share those worries. Here is what we're doing. This is what Charlie would have wanted. They did none of that. They went after the woman who would not shut up, thus glorifying her. This is an apotheosis. This is a deification, and she's Catholic, a beatification, a canonization. This is incredible. Candace Owens isn't perfect. I know that. Does not even have to be said. She's taken positions, I told you in the past, that many people, including me, maybe you, said, ooh, Candace, ooh. That's irrelevant here. On this question, in this moment, at this time, she is performing the function that real media, real adults, real opposition, and real friends are supposed to perform. She's refusing to let some messy, politically, inconvenient case be buried under donations and nostalgia. That is why the attacks keep coming. That's also why they will fail. Because in the end, dear patriot, dear member of the conspiracy, the conspiratorium, the clerisy, You, as a conspiracist, okay, you remember who tried to stop them from thinking and who insisted that they think harder. Candace Owens has done something in here which is so, she reminds us kind of who we are when we were in our prime, when we cared, when we asked questions, when people feared us. Nobody fears us anymore. Nobody. Nothing, because they know, they'll go away, out of sight, out of mind, because we habituate to it. We've become, as Gore Vidal says, the United States of amnesia. We had the attention span of a gnat. Well, that's going to change right now, my friends. So let me thank you for this. Subscribe. The metrics help us tremendously. But in the comment section, I put some questions, and I want to hear yours, because you're the grand jury. You're involved. Your questions, your take, that's what it's about. They can't stop us. There are so many of us. So for us, for Truth, for Candace, and for Charlie, I ask you right now to comment as you see fit.